Hello and welcome to the DrivingMaul Super Rugby Round 14 predictions. I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, and I'm always up for a good rugby chat, so please do put comments below and let me know your thoughts on how this weekend will go. I'm coming to you from a sunny but cold New Zealand, so you might see me take a drink of coffee to try and keep warm halfway through this. Sorry, there's a bit of light issues behind me, but I think we're getting it under control now. So the weekend kicks off with the Blues hosting the Chiefs at Eden Park. I'm going to be there, so if you're going to be there, do please say hi. The Blues obviously coming back from South Africa off that loss to the Stormers, their first loss to a non-New Zealand side, whereas the Chiefs are coming back also from a loss, but that was in Fiji against the Crusaders. The Blues haven't beaten a New Zealand side all season, and it does look now that with a 10-point gap that their playoff hopes are gone, with the Highlanders taking that spot. I just can't see the Blues beating a New Zealand side, so I'm going to back the Chiefs by 5. Next, we head over to Australia, where the Reds will host the Force. Two sides that are really kind of struggling this season. Both got 3 wins under their belts, and I think a bit like last week, where the Reds played. As I said, that I thought the Reds would do it because they do have better quality on their roster. I think they will do it here. I think this is going to be the individuals will beat the team, because the Force are playing well as a team, but they're just not. They just don't have the class of the Reds. So I think the Reds will sneak this one by 5. We then head up on Saturday afternoon, New Zealand time that is, to Japan, where the Sunwolves will be hosting the Cheetahs. This really is a bottom of the table clash between the 16th and 18th place, so the third from last and the last teams down there. The Cheetahs had started the season well and got a couple of wins early on, but have really struggled since then. The Sunwolves have been putting in their spirited performances as usual, but not getting the points. So in this one, I'm going to back the home team by 3. Being in Tokyo, they'll have all that fanatical support that the Sunwolves do get, and I think they're going to sneak that one. We then come back to New Zealand and head south to Dunedin, where the Highlanders will host the Waratahs. Now, as I say, the Highlanders, I think, probably are now secured a playoff position with that 10-point gap over the Blues, and it's a matter of how high up the seeding can they climb. They want to keep pressure on the Chiefs and the Canes if they can. I mean, all 3 teams are within just 2 points, or 3 points, with the Highlanders on 41 and both the Chiefs and Hurricanes on 43. So it is tight it's going to be a tight battle to get that seeding, even if they will all have to travel probably. I think the Highlanders will beat the Waratahs quite comfortably, backing them by 14 points. We then head over to Melbourne, where the Rebels are hosting the Crusaders. Now, the Rebels had that dead cat bounce when it got announced they were going to be, they could be cut along with the Force, but since then they have reverted to being pretty poor, to be honest. The Crusaders are sailing along on their victory parade with 12 wins from 12 games so far this season, and let's be honest, we can't see anything different this time around. I think we're going to have, so I'm backing the Crusaders by 14. Wouldn't be surprised that after their trip to Fiji that the Crusaders will rest a couple of players for this one, which is why I'm not going for a bigger margin. Then we head over to South Africa, where the Bulls host the Hurricanes. Now, the Bulls have been poor this season, with just 3 wins from their 11 games so far. In contrast, the Hurricanes are 9 wins from their 11 games, just 2 losses they've suffered. And the Hurricanes, along with obviously the Chiefs and the Highlanders, will be looking at trying to keep that pressure on the Crusaders and hoping that the Crusaders slip up so they can get that home at semi-final for topping the New Zealand Conference. So expect them to come out full guns blazing on this one. And I'm backing the Hurricanes by 14. The Hurricanes, all the New Zealand sides will be heading for that try-bonus point win if they can get it, with the Chiefs having at the Blues perhaps having the hardest task of all this weekend. Then we have the big South African clash, the Sharks hosting the Stormers. one from this one that goes back a long way. A lot of history in this one. The Stormers did get a win last weekend over the Blues, like I said, but they came off a run of 4 losses before that. But if you look at who they lost to, it was the Lions, Hurricanes, Crusaders, and Highlanders, wasn't it? Is that right? Anyway, basically 4 of the top 5 teams, because they had to beat Chiefs at home. So they've lost to 4. That's their only losses this season. The Sharks, whilst they have a slightly better record, have been facing the Australian sides and have been a bit more up and down, and they have a more conservative game plan. I'm backing the Stormers to win this one by 5 with their new expansive game plan. Then we head over to Argentina, where the Jaguares host the Brumbies. Now, I got it wrong last weekend, and I thought the Kings would get over the Brumbies, but the Brumbies got that win on the road, and they really are looking to cement their top spot in Australia. The Waratahs are only 4 points behind them, so a win here, and the Tars have to travel to face the Highlanders, would open up a comfortable gap as we head towards the international break. So the Jaguares, whilst they started the season well, have really kind of faded since then, and they're losing to the Force recently. I think so. I'm going to back the Brumbies to win this one by 3 and to have a very good tour. To finish the weekend, the Lions host the Kings. Now, the Kings lost the Brumbies last weekend, like we just said, after having a run of 3 wins. Perhaps we got a bit carried away with how they were doing with those wins, and they're not perhaps where as good as we thought. A bit of a bandwagon there. The Lions, on the other hand, have only lost away to the Jaguares in Argentina, where they rested a bunch of players, or the bunch of players couldn't travel, and they are clearly and they are fighting now with the Crusaders to get that top seed, so that if they do make the final, they get to play it at home. So expect the Lions to win this one, and to be obviously going for that try-bonus point. Backing the Lions there by 10. So that's how I see the weekend going. As I say, I will be at the Eden Park for Blues versus Chiefs, so do come and do give me a shout if you're going to be there. Don't forget to sign up for my newsletter, link above on Twitter, down below on YouTube. Do please share this with your friends, or give it a thumbs up if you're on YouTube as well. Thank you for joining me. I'll be back tomorrow with my Viva Premiership final, Pro 12 final, and top 14 semi-final predictions, so do look out for that.